talk about some really important stuff, man. Let's talk about ZZ Talk MCU Roundup. I just came up with that. That's our new section because it seems like every single episode we're talking something about MCU because they only have like 33 projects currently in development. So
yeah,
like, they have
every single episode there's something new to talk about. Right?
Exactly.
They stay they try to stay relevant and are pretty successful at doing it.
They are pretty successful at doing it. So the next thing that you're gonna tell me about it because I didn't get a chance to watch it yet.
Okay.
Actually, I'm hoping that I do get to watch it fairly soon, and before Eternals, maybe you and I can do our top 25. By top 25, I just mean the order of the way that we like our MCU movies. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes. Okay.
I already have my list. I'm just saying you maybe want to do some homework. We can even actually, you know what's good? We could separate it. We could do like top 25, but work our way backwards from 25 to, you know what I mean? And then just do it at because honestly, I'm not gonna lie, we run out of top fives occasionally that we can't think of. So this is a good way for us to have a good 5 weeks worth of
fives.
And then the way that we've been recording, that'll get us all the way through, May of next year, it seems, because we seem to only be doing one every 3 months. But anyways, so you saw Shang-Chi. You definitely told me that I need to watch it in theaters. So of course I didn't listen because, like I told you, going to theaters for you is a 2.5 hour process. For me, it's about a 5 to 6 hour process because I have to take the kid, figure out where the hell I'm taking the kids. And I'm not one of those people that will take kids to a movie, have them talking, getting bored during the movie, and then kind of ruin a little bit of the experience. I'll take them to one of those, like they used to have a $2 like theater here where you like $2.75. You get to watch a movie that's like on its second run. So one of those I would have taken them to, but unfortunately they closed that after COVID.
This is why you need to have like a young niece or nephew. You pay for their movie. You say, hey, take my kids to this really cheap movie in Theater 8. Pay for their movies and their popcorn while you're in Theater 7 watching Shang-Chi. I
think it's adorable that you think a cheap movie in a theater is still not going to be probably $10. So we're talking about on tickets alone, I'm spending $50. Then on top of that, they're going to want to, and actually that's a lie because I remember I went to we went to go watch Doctor Strange. I remember this thing blew my mind because this guy took his kids. And I think they were watching Minions, if I'm not mistaken. I think those might have been released around the same time. The dude spent $89 on tickets alone, and it was 6 people. Yeah. Damn. Yeah. Theaters aren't cheap
anymore. That makes sense. Yeah, it's like approaching $15, maybe.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's why a lot of people are just like, you know what? Maybe I will just wait until it comes out on Disney Plus because I only have to pay. We just watched Cruella because it finally is no longer one of those, early access stuff. So anyways, all right. So we're going to talk about Shang-Chi. What If, because I got to watch the first 4 episodes. I haven't finished all the What If episodes. I didn't feel like I didn't have homework because we weren't doing a talk about
a weekly thing.
Yeah, weekly thing. Yeah. Another thing is Agatha is getting her spinoff. So that was something that was just released today. So we're going to talk about that. And yeah, I'm pretty sure there's other stuff that we're not talking about that's MCU related, but
yes. Let's knock the MCU thing out then. All right. So Shang-Chi. I know I'm probably saying it wrong. My initial thoughts as soon as I came out of the theater, as not even after I came out of the theater, I went to go see it with my brother. And as soon as the credits were rolling, I turned to my brother and I said, dude, I think this might be my favorite solo movie since Captain America, the Winter Soldier. And he was like, Black Panther came out since then. I was like, yeah, I think it's better than Black Panther. And the thing about it is, Black Panther will forever hold a special place in my heart. It can't be understated just how it feels as an African person, seeing all these things that pay homage to African culture throughout the movie. And it's like different parts of African culture too. They have the 5 different tribes in Black Panther, and especially M'Baku, who sounds like a Nigerian. I think I've told this story on the show before about taking my parents to see it, and my mom turns to me and is like, "Is he Nigerian?" Winston Duke is not. He's from Trinidad, but his inspiration for M'Baku was his Nigerian friend that he mimicked the accent. So there's so many parts of Black Panther that I just love from like a cultural and personal perspective. And story-wise, it's actually really good too. It's also it's like one of my top 10 MCU movies easily. As just as a non-biased viewer, a non-biased MCU viewer, I think Shang-Chi is a better movie. And I will explain why. And I'll explain why with as few spoilers as possible. If anything I say is plot related, it'll be stuff that you've seen in the trailers. I'm hoping you've seen the trailers. One of the biggest reasons why I think it's better than Black Panther is the villain and the central conflict of the movie, right? I don't want to get too much into what the plot is, but from the trailers, you can tell that the bad guy is his father. He goes by the name of Wenwu. He's who, the Mandarin from the character from Iron Man 3. That's who he was based off of, right? And he's such a complex villain, right? Like he's probably the most sympathetic villain in MCU history, right? Yeah. So Thanos is my favorite villain in that, I got what he was trying to do. Like I understood his plan. I still think he's a madman, but I understood it, right? Whereas Wenwu, man, it's so hard to talk about it without spoiling. But basically, he reminds me a lot of Michael Corleone, and there's even a part in the movie that harkens back to Godfather 3, where the line in Godfather 3 I'm thinking of is when Michael Corleone says, and I'm gonna butcher this line, but something to the effect of, every time I try to get out, they keep pulling me back in, or something like that. That's what you get from Wenwu in this movie. And Tony Leung, who plays Wenwu, he's such a brilliant actor. So he can tell you a lot with just his face, just like the look he gives. And one of the downsides of doing a review like this so long after seeing it is that it's hard to avoid other people's reviews of it. So one of the things I've been seeing from other people is that Simu Liu, who plays Shang-Chi, is like a weak link in the movie. I don't see that at all. I think he was fantastic. I thought he was pretty good as a leading man. It just so happens that his supporting cast was really good too. Akwafina freaking killed it. I haven't seen a lot of Akwafina projects, but I'm gonna be looking for more stuff that she's in because
she made me a fan in Raya and
Raya the Last Dragon.
Yeah, she made me a fan. She's the dragon.
Oh, she is. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I haven't like watched a lot of her stuff, but she's really good in this.
Freaking good in that. As that voice actress. Like it's like I was like, who is this? I was like, I love this voice actor. I was like, oh, it's Akwafina. Okay. I just thought she was like a rapper that I didn't care for.
Yeah, there's another female character in it that's really good. I think it's a spoiler who she plays, so I won't say it. But she's really good in it. She runs like a fight club type of thing. The fight club that you see in the trailer, where it's like Abomination fighting against Wong. She runs that fight club. She's a really good character too. It's littered with so many good characters. The humor is on point. But where it rises above Black Panther for me is that the motivation of Eric Killmonger is understandable, right? They killed his father, and he's like, you know what, screw these people. He may have gone a little, off kilter with the whole, world domination thing.
Yeah.
But you kind of understood it. The character motivations between the villain and the hero here is so much better, in my opinion. And anyone who's watched it will know what I mean by that. So that's my boilerplate review of it without spoiling too much. I put it above Black Panther. I put it in my top 5 MCU movies. I'm pretty sure. I think. Yes. Endgame, Infinity War.
No. Don't spoil the list. That's top 5 coming up pretty soon. So,
okay, yes. It's in the
we
top
already know
5.
your first one, though. So
yeah, it's in. Well, no. So those 2 are in there. I didn't say which order. I was just saying them in an order. So yeah, that's where I put it. Any thoughts on what you've heard about it or what you've seen?
I've heard from you. I haven't heard any bad reviews, but I've heard this from you. What I was really interested is hearing from my Asian friends about it. And I think when it first came out, a lot of them were basically saying, kind of like, I'm pretty sure a lot of Black and Africans were black people and African people. I didn't want to say African American because then it's like not just, you know what I mean. Anyways, yes. The same way that reaction happened with Black Panther, that positive reaction of representation finally being there, I feel like a lot of my Asian friends said the same thing, that it was great seeing a character that looks like them up on the big screen. So now, I'm just hoping that, Mexicans get that one day, or Hispanics.
Yeah, no, and it really harkened back to a lot of like those martial arts movies that we all loved, from Jackie Chan and all this.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the train scene, the bus scene that's in all the trailers, Simu Liu was very Jackie Chan in that. And I've seen the behind the scenes of how that scene was filmed, and it's quite.
Wait, I mean, like using objects to fight with him, or like?
Yeah, like jumping around like the railings and like the using okay. Yeah, it's like a comedic fight type of thing. It was really good. Yeah, there was a behind the scenes of how it was shot in like one take, like one of those places where he's like going through like knocking this guy out and knocking that guy out, almost like a Daredevil fight type of thing, hallway scene sort of thing. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I rank it pretty high. I won't go into spoiler talk. Maybe sometime after you watch it, maybe we can talk about specifics of it. But that's my Shang-Chi review. I did want to talk about something else related to Shang-Chi. And that's before the movie came out, there were a lot of people that were like trying to cancel Akwafina. I don't want to say a lot of people. There were people. It just turns out that usually the loudest voices, even if it's just one of you, if you're the loudest voice, you're the one that gets the attention. So there were a couple of loud voices that were getting attention for saying that Akwafina should be canceled because they dug up a tape of her using a black-ccent. And the reason I want to bring this up is because Zeus and I were talking about something similar before the show about what was it you said? An AAE?
So there was somebody said, was posted on Twitter about how it was troublesome that her mutuals were following a particular person who kept using the word POG, right? Okay. PAWG, which I misunderstood as pretty ass white girl, right? That's what I thought it meant, which I was like, I can get the troublesome part for that, but I just thought it meant pretty ass white girl, and it was a porn category, right? And so I asked, is that the problem? Is it that because it's a porn category? Because or is there something else that I need to know about? And somebody came back and said that it was, well, the P stands for fat, PHAT, which is a term originated by Black people, right? And so there was the whole, it was taking out of the AAE,
which stands for.
And when I told you about that, you were like, "What the heck is AAE?" Apparently, AAE means African American English,
right?
Which automatically to me was just like, that just doesn't seem. That itself seems troublesome to me, because I'm like, the African American English automatically think, I was like, what would I think if somebody said Latin American English? I'm like, you mean English? It's just English. Now, are you talking about somebody stealing our slangs or stealing our culture of, culture vulturing? That's one thing, but that term seemed really weird to me, and I thought it was cringe to use that term, African American English. It's like. And it was from somebody who was, well, go ahead. What were you about to say about the Aquafina?
Yeah. So that conversation made me think of the Aquafina thing, because a lot of people were like, she's using a black-ccent in this video. And I guess some way she pronounced things or whatever can be construed as trying to sound like a Black girl. or trying to use Ebonics or something. But then I kind of took like offense to that. I was like, okay, so like it's like the whole like, oh, so if you don't talk to that, you don't sound black, you sound white, or you sound like, the whole thing was like very weird to me. Why people would try to bring down Akwafina, and they were trying to bring down the movie too, for hiring her.
It was kind of one of those things is like, you're being offended for us, which I'm like, we don't need you to be offended for us. We can be offended about the things that we need to be offended for. Just listen. That's all you got to do, is just listen.
We see that a lot, where we'll have people not of a certain demographic being offended for that demographic, because they're like, oh, this seems bad, and I want to make sure that I don't look like someone that is condoning this. So let me get out in front of it and say that this thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this whole like the whole Pog thing. Right? I thought the offensive part was something about the girl, like you meaning it was maybe it was dehumanizing to women, or you know what I mean, misogynistic in nature. I was like, okay, I get that the problem is the culture vulture part. I completely understand that. But it's also one of those things is like, well, is fat really only exclusively used by, you know what I mean? Is that really only used by exclusively by black people now? Because I think it's kind of like with the term swagger and the term, we even said it, right? Woke.
Talk about woke, yeah.
It's been put into the mainstream.
There's a scene in Shang-Chi where they go to Macau, and a lot of as they're going to this place, you see like Asian people like break dancing, and they're like playing like hip hop music, or like K-pop. Well, it wouldn't be K-pop in this case. I don't know, whatever. But their hip hop music in their language, and I'm like, would someone say that they're essentially being culture vultures? They probably would, but I'm like, why though? Like, I thought that's the whole point of like music and the culture and like hip hop and stuff, because hip hop has gotten global. Like when I was a kid in Nigeria, we were listening to hip hop, and when like I don't know if you ever watched the show America's Best Dance Crew, like the first season, the winners were Jabberwockies, which is like an all Asian crew, right? And it's like it's a global thing. So to now say that, oh, for an Asian person to say things in a black way, a black-ccent, I think that's
it's all because the thing is though, it's certain things do get adapted, right? I mean, there's in Japan there's a Chicano subculture. Like, so you've seen Chicano, like American Me, where the women have the hair all bunched, the curl, whatever, the curls and the bun. And, they got the eyebrows like drawn up with the kind of like a sharp edge, not a sharp edge, but the sharp corner.
Yeah.
And the lipsticks and all that stuff. And then, wearing the wife beater with the khaki pin. That culture, there's actually that culture in Japan. Like, look it up. Look up Japan Chicano subculture. Like, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Could it be culture? Could it be them being culture vultures? Yeah, you could say that. But at the same time, are they doing it to take away from that community and not give them their credit? But the thing is, though, they completely give them the credit, right? If you watch, I watched an article, or I watched a video, and they were like, well, we saw this, we saw this in these movies. We saw that a lot of people were doing it, so we really enjoyed it. So we started kind of adapting to it. Now, there's a problem we have, like with the hip hop music that you said. Yeah, if there's the hip hop music, but then there's people who are actually racist. I'm like, no, then you're a problem, because you're stealing from this, but you don't like who created it. Like that's different. But yeah. So anyway, that whole, like I said, I got the troublesome of that term, but it was just kind of like that came out of it. I got unfollowed by that person because she didn't like that. I thought it was a little bit. I'm sorry. I find a little bit that term suspect. That's just me. Yeah. I find that term a little bit weird. Like I'm like that's basically saying, hey, you talk white versus you know what I mean. Like we hear. I'm sure you've heard that before. I've heard that plenty of times. Where they say you talk white, and I'm like, okay. Like
I mean, you're not that kind of black.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there you go.
Yeah. So anyway, Akwafina, do you don't let people bring you down about the whole black-ccent thing.
But if
she
you
was great in
haven't seen
Shang-Chi.
that movie with the dragons and Zendaya,
Zendaya?
not Zendaya. What is it called? Raya.
Oh,
And,
right.
Raya.
I thought you meant Zendaya
I
was
know
like
you thought
in
I
the
meant.
movie.
No, if you haven't seen Raya, watch it. Man, Akwafina is adorable in that role. She really is, because like it's just the dragon is like the cutest thing. I wanted to get a stuffed doll for my daughter, but really for me. So anyway, but yeah, so all right, cool. So that's Shang-Chi. Kind of dove a little bit into, would that be called politics or culture or whatever?
Yeah.
It's all right.
It still has to do with Aquafina.